Does it feel impossible for you to be consistently happy? So many of us have short, low peaks of happiness before returning to our baseline happiness. Here's why, and one simple graph that could change your life, because it did for me. In today's fast-paced world where everything is just a click away, we're getting used to getting what we want immediately. The constant use of smartphones, social media, fast food has gotten us used to instant gratification, an instant hit of dopamine. But is it always the best choice? While it may seem enticing, it is affecting and hurting our everyday well-being. Take a look at this graph. When we indulge in negative actions, such as skipping a workout to watch TV, we may feel a temporary pleasure, but it comes at a long-term cost. Do you remember a time when you had to do something difficult, but instead you stuck on Netflix or played a video game, and for that moment it felt so good? Well, that's the peak in the graph. But after this, the costs are somewhat continuous. By constantly engaging in these short-term pleasure activities, you're building a habit that sacrifices your goals and the things that you need to do to be truly happy. Over time, it's going to affect your self-esteem, your motivation, and your general outlook on life. And it likely already has. This struggle between the desire for instant gratification and the importance of long-term benefits can make it challenging to resist procrastination and distraction. But don't despair, it's not all doom and gloom. Everyone does this to an extent, and it is totally possible and achievable to take control of your own habits and your own happiness. The simple piece of advice that I want to share, based on this graph, which has genuinely changed my life, is do hard things. Okay, that might seem a little simple and underwhelming, but bear with me. There's a lot of depth there, and I think most people really need to hear it. When we engage in positive, difficult behaviors like saving money instead of throwing it away on stupid things, or doing exercise even when we feel tired, we may experience an initial sacrifice, and in the short term, we might hate our own guts for forcing ourselves to do it, but it results in a long-term gain. This is delayed gratification. This long-term gain is incomparable to those short bursts of dopamine, and in fact, it's going to make those short activities, which give you pleasure, all the more pleasurable. I mean, think about it. If you, for example, play video games all of the time, whenever you want, with no limits or additional sacrifice, you are going to take it for granted. It's nothing special. The level of dopamine and satisfaction that you get from it is at baseline. Maybe you remember the days when you were younger and you got such a rush from playing video games, whether it was online competitive games or beating a single player game, but now you more or less feel numb or quite neutral when you play games. Well, by focusing and engaging yourself on the hard things. After you've completed your day of work and you've achieved what you wanted to, all of these activities will seem all the more pleasurable. So why don't we just do this all of the time? Firstly, it's difficult. That initial sacrifice is really hard. It is so much easier to do easy things. But why would you hold yourself to that low standard? Do the hard things and acknowledge that doing them is hard. This isn't a change that happens overnight, but as your brain starts to get that positive feedback loop from doing difficult things, this gets easier with time. It's exponential. As deeply cheesy as it is, whenever I'm doing something difficult or a task which I know is going to bring me happiness, I like to remind myself in the process, this makes me happy. I'm sticking a pin in the map of my happiness and saying, here, X marks the spot, and I'm glad I made the effort to get here. Secondly, we resist happy-making activities because they don't fit in with our ideas of who we are. Every day we tell ourselves stories about who we are, what we do, and what we are capable of. Only you can change that. None of us are walking around with name tags affixed to our shirts, broadcasting our hobbies, interests, or the things that make us happy. If something brings us joy, nobody is going to know unless you tell them. So challenge these narratives and stories that we tell ourselves. So if I can leave you with one simple thought in your head today, it's do the hard things. Or do the difficult things. Don't settle for your routine and the easy responses of pleasure that we're all so used to. you're going to feel a million times better going after and pursuing the difficult things. And of course, don't expect this to change overnight. It's about habit building. It's about a focus and a direction that you're pointing yourself in. I believe in you, and this is a continuous struggle for myself as well. But with continuing gradual improvements, we get closer and closer to where we want to be in life. If this video was in any way helpful, please leave a comment below and let me know what you thought, and maybe consider sticking around and subscribing. Have an amazing day, and I will see you guys soon.